is a series of short clips running through the operation of the various appliances within the caravan. Sometimes the switches and the operation of the appliances are slightly different from what I'm going to show you now, but the caravans have all got sheets in them which detail the exact location of the switches that are relevant, and by referring to the sheets you can find out where the switches are for the particular caravan that you're in. First thing you'll need to do is to turn on the battery. In this caravan the battery on-off switch is here, and next to that you've also got the water pump switch. Once you've turned the water pump switch on, water comes out of the taps when you lift the lever. One thing to bear in mind, if you're on battery and you haven't got mains hookup, turn the water pump switch off each time when you've finished with the water. The water pumps are voltage sensitive, and if the battery voltage starts to drop, the water pump could start running and flatten your battery. So in the caravans, most of the lights have individual switches on them. So that one switches on there, there. The kitchen light in here is a push switch, and some of the lights, particularly the bathrooms, there may be switches on the lights. There's also very often either a switch on the wall or a pull switch, so it may be a two-way switch. So if you try the light and it doesn't work, then you'll need to operate the switch on the wall or the pull switch. Most of the caravans have also got 240 volt lights at the front. This is one of them. The switch on this one, there's a switch on the unit and there's also a switch underneath. Using the 240 volt lights is a good way of actually checking that the site supply is turned on for your mains electrics, because if you try your 240 volt light and it doesn't work, then there's probably the site supply not yet been turned on. To use the hot water in the caravan, there is an onboard water tank which needs to heat up. So the hot water isn't instant. You need to give it about half an hour to heat up before you try and use it. When you're using the hot water on gas, the little control is on the wall of the caravan. You've got off, and then you've got a gas setting. You turn the grey outer bezel clockwise. You hear a click, which is the boiler starting up, and you'll see a green light on the dial. If the green light is on, it's working fine. If it fails, a red light will appear at the side of the green light. The reasons for the failure will either be you haven't turned the gas on at the bottle in the front locker, or it's run out. The battery voltage is too low, because although it's running on gas, it still needs a good battery voltage to keep it running. The third thing is that you haven't removed the cover from the gas outlet on the side of the caravan. If you're using the hot water on mains electric, there will be a switch somewhere in the caravan. Basically, you just operate the switch on and off, just like an immersion heater in a home. We're now going to look at the operation of the fridge. If you're trying to light the fridge on gas, I always recommend pulling some gas through the pipe to make sure you've got a good supply by lighting the hob before you try and light the fridge. The small button at the bottom turns the fridge on. The button on the left scrolls through the different sources of power. So we've got gas, electric and battery. Once we've got the gas selected, the fridge is automatically lit. The button on the right adjusts how cold the fridge is. So the more bars that are present, the colder the fridge will be. So once the fridge is lit on gas, you shouldn't have to do anything with it until the point comes where you have to change the gas bottle. If you have to change the gas bottle over, you will need to relight the fridge. Before you relight the fridge, it's always wise to light one of your burners on the hob, just to make sure you've got a nice good gas supply before you try and relight the fridge. If you're going to run the fridge on electric, you would select the middle option, which is the plug. So now we'll have a quick look at the cooker. The main thing to bear in mind is the lid has a cut-off. If the lid is not pushed right back before you try and light any of part of it, so that's the hob, the grill or the oven, it won't light because it won't let the gas through. I get some phone calls where people are struggling because they can't light the cooker, and invariably it's because they haven't got the lid right back. Once the lid is right back, you turn the knob to the relevant burner. So turn it to the high flame position, push it in, using the ignition, press the ignition, the burner will light. Keep the knob pressed in for a few seconds. There's a flame failure device which will turn the gas off unless you hold it in until it heats up, and then you can release the knob and it will stay lit. That's high, low, off. And one thing to remember is that you need to have the lid of the cooker right back, even if you're not using the hob. So if you just want the oven on or just the grill, you still have to put the lid back. So now I'm going to light the fire on gas. The gas control knob is the knob which has got a 0 and numbers 1 to 10. In order to light it, we turn to around about halfway. Push and hold that knob down, and then with the igniter button, press it rapidly a few times. If the fire is lit, when you release the control knob, you'll hear it fire up. Once the fire is lit, there's a viewing hole here, which if you get it exactly the right angle, you can actually see the flame. You can then adjust the temperature using the knob. When you release the gas control knob, if you don't hear the fire light, then you will just repeat the process. Press the igniter a few times, release, and then you'll hear it when it does actually catch. Bear in mind, when you're using the fire on gas, it gets very hot. So any children or anybody must be very careful not to touch the fire, and don't drape anything over it. When you've finished with the fire, you turn the knob back as far as you can clockwise to 0. On the other side of the fire, we have the fan switch. There is a little slider at the front which has got 3 positions. The left hand position is the variable position, and the speed of the fan is adjusted with the little dial. The centre position is off, and the right hand position is automatic. The fan on the fire will work at the speed that the fire wants it to. The fan blows the heat out of the vents which are located around the caravan in various positions. If we're using the fire on mains electrics, there's a control knob on the wall and there's an isolator switch which also needs to be switched on for the fire to work. Once we've switched the isolator on, we can then move to the wall switch. The wall switch has 3 different power settings: 2000, 1000 and 500. We select the power setting we want by turning the grey bezel. The dial on the inside is a thermostat to adjust the cut-off temperature of the fire. Now the caravans with the bench seats at the front like this one, they have a small table at the front on top of the chest of drawers. Take the top handle, pull it forward and flip the table back. In addition to this table, there is also a freestanding table which will be stored away in one of the cupboards in the caravan. In this caravan, the freestanding table is in this cupboard. To put the legs down, press the bracket towards you, pull the leg. It locates as shown. You repeat that for the other leg. When you're actually folding the table away again, it is important that before you try and close the leg, you release the bracket. Otherwise, it bends the bracket and needs to be replaced. All of the caravans that have got solar panels on them have also got a USB outlet which you can use to charge your mobile phones. Please don't use it for any large items or battery packs, as they will blow the fuse.